Live from our studios on QCell Avenue. Good evening, viewers, from where... Good morning. I'm used to good evening. Good morning, viewers from wherever you're watching us from. It's good to be back to yet another interesting edition of QTV this morning. Mr. Mbodj, don't believe that some programs, evening programs, so I'm used to good evening. It's good to be back.
Zone out of your evening program.
Yeah. Apparently this week, Mom Dina in the morning, more of a morning program. It's Monday, the 6th of July, 2026, from wherever you're watching us from. I am with my co-host, Mr. Momodu Mbodj, and of course our newspaper review guest is no other than Said Matijao, very, very prominent individual in the Gambia. Good morning.
Oh yeah, finally. You've arrived.
Yes. Welcome back.
Why did it take you that long? I mean, God, what have you been doing?
It's a lot.
Oh, what have you been taking? I don't know.
It's a lot.
Yes, absolutely. Just slightly slimmed down, isn't it? This morning.
Yes.
Because of the African caucus opens today. Everybody is there, really.
Right.
It's a massive event. You're going to have like financial leaders,
Central bank governors
of central banks and ministers of finance.
And even the private sector.
54 countries. Including the richest man on the continent, Aliko Dangote will be here as well.
Yes.
So it's a massive event, starting today till the 8th.
Right.
So, yes, so that's why with our newspaper review, we're going to have Said Mati, and then afterwards we're going to have our World Cup updates.
Absolutely. Good morning, Said Mati.
Morning.
It's been a long time.
Yes, it's been a while. Yeah.
How has it been going at the Center for Policy Research and Strategy
It's been good on it in the field work. This election year, so also preparing for that. But has been good generally, definitely.
Alhamdulillah.
The field workers.
Right.
We need the field
workers.
Actually.
The foot soldiers.
The foot soldiers.
To get the data.
That's where the evidence. This is where the evidence is. Really.
Right. So on the program this morning, like Mr. Mbodj alluded to, we're going to have the African proverb, the newspaper review, and of course our newspaper review guest is no other than Said Matijao. And we also have the 2026 World Cup update. Ade Drame and Momodu Gajaga will be here to give us those updates. The newspaper, Mr. Mbodj?
No, before that, the African code. African proverb.
That's what I'm saying. Read out
it's
the African code.
It's on the newspaper.
Did I hear Mr. Mbodj? Yeah, you people talk to Mr. Mbodj. I don't want his trouble.
No, I can be so petty. I can't help it. I can help it sometimes.
Right.
Okay. The rain beats the leopard's skin, but does not wash away its spots. The rain beats the leopard's skin, but does not wash away its spots. My first reaction is, well, it is not in the nature of rain to wash away leopard spots.
Well, it's expected to carry
I know the metaphor, but I'm just being literal. That's in the nature of rain to beat away spots, to wash away spots. Change the rain. I don't know. Acid rain, we call it. We just do not know. You could have such a climate transformation that you may have rain that will wash away the leopard spot. It's just so far we've never seen it. But things are always evolving and changing.
That's true.
So, right.
So
what is your own interpretation?
I really don't know what to add to that. But I mean, I think moving away from the literal meaning.
Exactly.
I mean, it's also talking about, being you in your natural sense. Nothing else can remove you from it. Because, I mean, of course, the leopard spot is part of the leopard. And it will be there. So being natural, being you, being true to yourself. Whatever comes in, it will just pass through you, but your original and real self will still be there. And so be yourself. For me, that's what it is.
Absolutely. I think you just hit that right on the head there. it's the same interpretation that I have. I mean, circumstances, challenges, hardships, this will come and go.
Yeah.
It's like passing clouds, but then your true nature will stay, who you are will remain, and I think that is very, very important. But oftentimes when we're confronted with challenges and hardship, you know, we are carried away, you know, by the situation, you know, if we are not careful. But it's good to be true to yourself. It's good to, you know, be adaptive. It's good to maintain who you are no matter the circumstances, because these are passing clouds. They will go, but you know, you will remain no matter what really happened in your life.
I'm going to be the spanner in the works here.
I know, right?
You see, this assumes that there's a core self.
Relationship,
Yeah, it assumes it. It hasn't demonstrated that there's an inner core, your true character, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? But we've been seeing in the world of psychology, some of it is just fiction.
Fiction, right.
There's really no true self. I discover myself interacting with externalities. You know what I mean? As they have said. So it is discovery, not invention. Nobody invents. You don't invent yourself. You discover yourself in circumstances. You find yourself in circumstances. Then how do you react? How do you behave? And then you are like, oh, this is what I'm like. That sort of thing.
You never really get to know who you are.
So I've always, not always, but for some time now, the idea that there's a core self, I am not so sure. I think it's one of those narratives that we tell ourselves. Some people say that the I is just a holding station for all sorts of things. You know what I mean? You're trying to invent a narrative about who you are, but again, you find yourself in certain situations, then you stumble. You said, okay, fine. You move on. You know, it's a holding station for all sorts of experiences.
He is a philosopher, by the way. Don't get too much
really
into what he's saying.
Because I mean, the debate is also about the environment, from the hen, the chicken, whether people created, you know, whether people are the ones created their own environment, or if they've been made by the environment.
Absolutely.
And I think this is what also the debate is. And I think it's really interesting for me to look at it from that perspective. But when I look at it also in terms of the two natural phenomena, you know, because here, of course, none of them cause each other. But rain, the expectation is that when it falls, I'm looking at it from the literal, you know, when it falls, is either when there is dust or anything, it washes it away, washes things away. So it is so in the natural flow of the water itself. You know, but of course, what you're talking about is, you know, even the leopard getting wet. Maybe he's on the hide somewhere. But those are the realities that you're talking about. What is the positionality of the person? What situation did that person find himself? Yes.
And you've made a very good point there. When it comes, the dust and dirt, it can wash it away. So the superficialities, as it were, that is what circumstances will really affect. But when something is deep, like your spot, not so much, to say the least. Absolutely. Just keep your core, keep grounded, be grounded. I think that's essentially the message of this program. Just be grounded, really. Sometimes you meet a storm, but it's okay. You will survive it, as it were. If you don't have a solid core, then that's when you'll start wobbling and being disoriented and sort of losing your way.
Like a headless chicken.
Headless chicken, can you imagine?
That is a powerful interpretation there. Well, viewers, we will take a short break, should we? And then when we return, we will head straight to the newspaper review. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV This Morning program, and I am Jul Denjai with my co-host Mr. Momodu Mboj and our newspaper review guest Seth Matejao. Let's head straight to the newspapers. We got Foroyaa, Point, Standard, and of course the Observer 24. On the Foroyaa news, the Point newspaper rather, we have Environment Minister urges collective actions to protect lands. This was, she made these remarks during the Mansakunda, you know, event over the weekend.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a good call that to protect our land, our environment, collective is a collective decision. It should be the relationship between the state and government. I mean, the government and the people, but also the communities, individuals themselves. So I think that is also very clear and important in the entire conversation, especially now we're discussing around natural resource management, land issues, where we're also seeing issues around conflict when it comes to those issues. But I think at the end of the day, it's also how is government directing and, setting the space, for this collective ownership but management of our land and resources, I think, generally. So I think, of course, such calls are welcome, but of course, at the end of the day, the one at the driving seat is the one that must move society.
Right, exactly.
Do these collective conversations,
Nice.
That's it. But I think that where you have a good number of people who are not observing rules and regulations, it's difficult in many ways for the state to enforce that rule. So people must be part of this democratic project. Otherwise it's going to fail. We don't see it that way. So we will keep on blaming the state. If it is crime, why not the police here? Or if it is anything else. So that is really what the danger is. So we all know what she's talking about, but to some extent we are in trouble. The state may want to do this and that, and we also know that because of our nature, our social norms, you have people within the state, they also become bribable. Then they can distort everything. So we are in trouble in that sense, as it were. So how do we reclaim that kind of moral agency as citizens? We are working on that, it seems.
Usually I see that there's a whole disconnect between, and that's why sometimes in our surveys we see, what the state is doing and what the citizens are demanding.
Exactly.
So you see that disconnect that kind of exists within that conversation. But of course, it is also how citizens are seeing themselves within this whole sphere. Because, sometimes they see themselves as beneficiaries, but they're not beneficiaries. You're owners. If you're owners, you're part of the deciders, you're part of that. You're supposed to help the state or the government to be able to shape those policies. And of course, if the government is going left and against what the collective agenda is, you bring them back and restrain them in that process. But if you don't know, they can just decide the policies, do anything,
you
and
see
then
it as privileges rather instead of rights, from the government, and that is what we are seeing. The reason why we are worshipping our, the people that we elect is because we don't know that these people are there to serve us instead of being there to fill their pockets. But oftentimes, reverse is the case. You see that you elect someone and then you are the boss, and all of a sudden the person is there and the person is your boss. It's so ironic. But again, civic education have a lot of work to do.
Absolutely. So it's like we've still got that traditional mindset. Don't they tell us, you are the political scientist here, democracy makes certain assumptions. That one, when I educate my people, two, I give them information, the manifesto and all of that. Three, they're going to act rationally. That bit is a bit contentious now in philosophical. We are not sure whether human beings are entirely rational. But you see, that's the idea.
I want you that he is a philosopher.
That's the idea, isn't it? So this is the key. We're not sure where that is going. You need a huge number who are educated. That's all part of the project. But look at us, be honest. Other societies will boast of 80–90% literacy education. People who are educated. We are not quite like that. Halfway. So whatever we do democratically will show these deficits, as it were. I've been making this argument, but mostly at my own personal level. When I look at the data sometimes to say, in this country, those that are educated or those went to school, if we call that, we are in the minority. We minority. Exactly. If you compare it, if you look at it in terms of those that have tertiary education, all of those. But you see, those in the minority now, they're the ones running government, they're doing that. How do we move the 50+% of the other population that are behind? And sometimes that's why we have all this debate between those that went to school that did not go to school. But also another issue that is coming also from the people themselves, if you look at contact,
the minute they elect you or the minute you are there in government, people don't contact you anymore. They expect that, oh, you know everything, so therefore you do. So the rationality that you're talking about. But even the people that are making decisions, you know, they are bounded. This is what they talk about, the bounded rationality. You know, they are bounded. It's not that they don't have all the information. Even the information that you have is not maybe the best information that for that purpose. So those are issues that we need to bring on the table as well.
Right.
That's a different debate. The bounded rationality. That's a different debate. Let's move on.
Right. Still on the point, German envoy urges Gambians to invest in education skills instead of back way. Germany.
I mean, I fully agree. I debate this a lot with my students. And I always give them this opportunity that what you have today in this country, for instance, UTG, all these universities, I mean, going to Europe, for instance, is easier when you have at least a bachelor's degree and all of those different issues. But most students don't see that. Sometimes some of them will leave the school and then they go and try to... But of course, it becomes individual choice. But I mean, I always say it's a choice at the end of the day. But if you invest it here, you'll never regret it. Because at the end of the day, you get the foundation that you can build on anywhere. You know? And I think those are things that we need to start thinking about. Invested in TVET education, skills, is very critical. Everybody is building houses, everybody is building, development is, I mean, infrastructural development is coming up. So there are a lot of things that we need, but people have to invest in that, and you know, Europe is not all that glitters is not gold, I mean, as they say goes.
Right.
But when you tell them, they're like, yeah, of course you will say that. You've been there. Now you're back. I want to go and find out for myself.
Exactly.
I said go.
This is a difficult one.
It is.
The individual, I think we alluded to this sort of thinking. The individual and the system, what we call the system, how things are. I feel when you talk to certain people or you hear certain stories, that we feel a sense of malaise. There's no hope. We occupy this desiccated, you know. We have this relationship, as it were, with the state. So families will go and sell land that maybe I should have invested in something. But the investment is for the young one, the boy, to go backward. It's an extraordinary situation we are in. So that tells you something that, yes, I do hear some advocates say, there's no employment, there's none of this, none of that. I said, yes, that is true. The economic angle is obviously one concedes that, but it doesn't end there. You cannot be reductionist. That's a reductionist argument. There are many others.
But is it free to, I mean, like for me, this like some people talk about this as sensitive. I mean, for me, I see as an educator, nothing is supposed to be sensitive.
At all.
Exactly.
And people talk about this issue, of course, oh, it's free economy. I said, people are not, it's not like there's a free boat that people enter and then go.
Absolutely.
You pay money.
It's an economy.
How much does it, yes,
so
it's an
economy.
So how much does it cost?
A lot.
You know, so those are like when we cannot just reduce the debate to because people lack. No, it's not that people lack. People are invested. So it's the kind of investment that people are making. Like somebody selling their own land.
Yeah, they are priority areas.
Yes, it's an investment. So now the conversation is that investment the right investment, or will that bring you the benefit or the profit that you want? And I think that's what this is talking about. Invest in education. Invest in the basic things that you can see. I mean, in a risky journey. It's like putting your money somewhere.
But you realize that in dealing with it, you must also ask yourself this question. What kind of a mindset will make that calculus?
Oh, yeah.
You see, that's what we want to attack if you're going to deal with it socially. You know what I mean? Of course, you need the enforcement bits. Imagine if you have lots of boats sort of patrolling the whole seas, making it really difficult physically to go. That's one part. But the mind thing, that's a different angle.
The mind for me is the psychosocial aspect. Because it has some psychological, personal, but it also has a sociological, connotation, family pressure, society, competition, peer pressure. I mean, all of these things for me, that's why it's not like a straight line. I mean, it has to be unpacked. You know, all these different dynamics so that, you know, we can be able to address that. Otherwise, you know, it will be ping pong.
And social media is also a contributory factor because before, you know, you go to Europe, you don't have the opportunity, you don't snap and all. But now on TikTok, Snapchat and all, I can go today, tomorrow dress well, you know, take a selfie and then post it. Like, oh, Julia is enjoying.
In fact, I see people even videoing their journey on the boat.
Yeah. So it happens.
And of course, new generation as well.
Yeah.
There are new things.
My generation. So let's move on. On the Standard newspaper, PPP ready to back UDP-led coalition. Interesting.
Yeah, so we are still in the coalition talk. I mean, I think this is also settled in one aspect of it. You know, where for me now the debate is about what kind of a coalition do we have? Who should we have? Party-led coalition or you know, this other coalition? I don't know what they call it. The primary
candidate-led. I think they've got something like that.
Yeah,
party-led or candidate-led.
Yeah. So even though it's not very specific in terms of how they, but if you listen to the debate, you can, you know, sense it from that.
Yeah.
On one side, there is those, especially within the UDP, they believe like they have a very strong base. That I mean, political parties can rally behind them and so that they can move. And so what PPP is doing is basically answering to that call. But there are those that believe that, I mean, that coalition should be of equal footing.
Right.
It doesn't matter as long as you're a political party or, you know, everybody is equal and so therefore they have to. But what is important is that ahead of the election, this is one aspect that is definitely you know, raising the, if I may say, raising the stakes, because it's, of course, it's on the other side. On the NPP, there already is a coalition already. So the opposition now, of course, citizens expect them to form a coalition, so they are trying to find ways to do that. But I always say that if you're forming your political party, I mean, you should be confident enough that you should be able to win an election.
Exactly.
I mean, then coalition becomes another strategy or tactic that one has to employ. But it seems like almost everything that we're discussing is coalition.
Coalition, yeah. Exactly.
This one is a difficult one.
It is.
They prepare to follow a UDP-led coalition. So they've already limited themselves.
Yeah.
What if another party emerges to lead it?
Exactly.
So it seems to me that the PPP, they've limited themselves to a UDP-led coalition.
Yes.
That's an interesting one. So yes, this is the problem with the so-called candidate-led. Size matters in politics as elsewhere. You know what I mean? So UDP is big. It's the biggest opposition. So they're going to go with that in many ways. So if you don't want to follow them, fine. They've got the numbers to go it alone. A lot of parties can't. So a lot of parties are formed, but in the end, you know that they're not really going to contest. They're going to hang on to the apron strings, they used to call it, of the bigger parties, as they were hanging on to their coats. So that's what's going to be. So it's a matter of how do you position yourself. How do you predict, okay, who's going to win? Which one would be the best bet? What do I do? So that's all it is. Just hedging your bets.
Exactly, but looking at the numbers too, UDP have a greater chance of, you know, winning if they rally behind the UDP than other parties, because it's the biggest opposition, no doubt about that.
But you know, this has always been that debate
in
coalition formation conversation since the early 2000s with the coming of NAD, you know, party-led, you know, group-led until 2026, and we are still here. We are still here. But of course, the structure of the state also makes coalition formation. I mean, our electoral system makes it a little bit difficult, where you have the first past the post system, for instance. For instance, if we had like 51 absolute majority, 51 you know, percent, basically, what can do in the second round of voting, it will be easier for, you know, everybody will know who the real giants are. And then, you know, it's easier to form coalition along that way. Or if it was a proportionate list, you know, different systems. But our system, it means that political parties must talk. And I'm happy that they're also doing those kind of stuff. Let them talk among themselves.
There is a lot.
And then make the whole environment more conducive for the electorate so that they can make the
the cake has been further divided because you see all these political parties coming and all of that. So it means they're taking from, example, Talib's UMC, it's taking from the UDP. Maybe they will also take from the NPP. You know, so it's difficult, really.
But the other angle for me is this. All this party-led, the parties do not have any ideologies. So all of that collapses again into individuals. Personalist politics. We've had this ever since. So it becomes really the candidate, the individual contesting. We've seen it in the last elections. the presidential, look at the margin between NPP's Barrow and Usainu Dabo. But go to the parliamentary, there was a completely different thing there.
Right.
So the individual matters so much in our politics because the parties are not distinguished by ideology. There's none.
You know, recently I've started this. We've started this project at the center called Gambia Manifesto Project. We are trying to compare all these manifestos, and we want to go as far back as the 60s.
Absolutely.
The question is to answer this question.
That's exactly
Are Gambian parties based on ideology or otherwise?
Absolutely.
Or can we use the the standard European spectrum to measure our own political parties, or is there a difference in terms of how we should measure them? And I realize, of course, that to a certain extent, I'm just starting, it's not preliminary, but you'll find that some of these parties, what they talk about in their manifestos, because we're using their manifestos, is ideological. But outside their manifesto, when they campaign and all of that stuff, it's not.
Yes, it will.
Yeah. So it becomes the personal, but on the paper, they're talking about ideas, free, liberal, talking about all of those stuff. But it's interesting. It's interesting to say.
You see, that left-right divide in the West, as it were, that is rooted within the social struggles of that society. We do not have that left-right divide.
Right.
The nearest I've seen to sort of trying to create camps here is Kwame Gichi, the Ghanaian philosopher, talking about the traditionalist and the modernist. Sort of. I've seen it, especially during the FGM debate in the National Assembly. I was like, now, that's an interesting one. So you have these modernizers, we have to change and all that. But you have those telling you, we should keep to our traditions. So maybe this is the beginnings of
I'm sensing that from the political, I look at it, especially within our system, there is what you call the statists. Parties that are pro-state,
I like that,
like the state, they want the state to continue, and there are those that want transformative, they are more liberal, one private sector, one foreign direct investment. Those do you find? And I am trying to plug them within that whole, I mean, when that project comes out,
that would be an interesting one.
We're trying to analyze that, and I sense it from that traditional, modern debate. And of course, incumbents are always static. They're on the right. They are more capitalist. They want more money, but they want state continuity. While there are those that want transformation, but pro-state. So for me, I can see the debate from that element. And these are things that we need to develop and start debating and even teaching.
Yes, teach it so that people understand.
It has to be developed and debated.
That's the idea. We are told that the newspapers and the media. That's where a country, a nation, will have its intellectual discussion, conversation. So once you bring these ideas up, kids, students, they're cutting onto these ideas, and you just never know.
And refine it, even build it up, Like sometimes that's the way, like most of this debate we are having, this Kant, Immanuel Wallerstein, or even this Aristotle, Plato, So it has to be that. Like it must be debated. Definitely.
It must be. And on the Observer 24, African Development Bank President praises Gambia's economic reforms.
New one.
Well, yes, they're present, but I don't know whether my pockets are going to... For me, economics, whether GDP, whatever the number is, in my own local term, I said it has to be decided by the pocket.
Exactly.
What am I able to purchase? What is my purchasing power? What can I afford? And I think for a lot of people, I mean, we have the numbers, the formal process of comparison, debating issues, but for the everyday Gambian, it is what does bread cost? What is the transportation cost from my place to work, or the cost of hospital? For me, when you talk about the economy, for the people, that's what the economy is. It's not the 19 million GDPs, big figures. Of course, it's the big figures that shows also, individually how people are surviving. But sometimes people will want to hear, I can afford bread, I can afford my 3 meals every day, I can take my kids to school. Those are issues that people are really interested. And for me, I think a responsive government must also try to look at it from that side to see the everyday issues that people have, of course, but for the bigger ones, that can be left for the World Banks and the
IMFs
to do their measurement.
Absolutely, and they're necessarily connected. So this is our problem, where the disconnect comes in. When it comes to these headline gains, Let's say the economy has grown by 7% GDP, stuff like that. But yet, this is what people hope. The trickle down, can you see it in per capita? That's why they tell us that per capita GDP, that's more important than the other one. How much is government spending on individuals, as it were? That is where the loss will come in because of the institutional inefficiencies.
Yes.
So much waste, so much waste is going on institutionally.
Sometimes you wonder
so
what is
this
really
is really
going
where
on.
we have to hold on. You remember, Sidmati, 2 years ago or so, people who won the Nobel Prize, their central question was, why is it that some countries are developing, others are not? They came to the conclusion that institutionally, and we feel it, we see it all the time. Go to the audit office, any institution here audited, financially there's mismanagement, you're doing nonsense. Go to the reports of the National Assembly Select Committees, any institution audited, you're doing nonsense. As long as institutions do not work, nothing will work. You're not going to get the policy. All investments will be wasted. Nothing will work. We don't get that. But again, there's so much getting in the way of making the institutions functional. They're so dysfunctional.
I mean, I honestly cannot add anything to that. Because, you know, you're talking about, in political economy, you talk about how to make money and how to redistribute money. You know, if making money is about thinking. Right now, here we only make money through taxation mostly.
Exactly.
I mean, taxation. Sometimes that's why I talk about this country, 80-kilometer coastline. People cannot tell me this country is a poor country. I don't accept that. 80-kilometer coastline, I mean, you're talking about what? Ocean. How many nautical miles? You talk about half river, half of it fresh water. I mean, there are a lot of things that we can do, but it's also about how our institutions are functioning, but functioning for the society and for the country, the context where they are. How do you understand your geography, your geopolitics, and how do you make it work for the people? Because at some point, when we talk about the institution, it's the individual.
Absolutely.
You, the individual that is there, this is the role, this is the TOR, work it out, and at the end of the day, you come out as a beneficiary of the society, you see the benefit. Otherwise, people will be in government or will be anywhere, will work. At the end of the day, they come out and say, what did you do? Because you will not be able to see it translated. And in fact, the last point that I want to make is if we were to divide the national budget across in terms of each investment, then you'll be like, for instance, if we take the education budget and divide it among the population, then we'll see how much is investment per.
Exactly.
You know, for individuals. Like how much is government, for instance, investing in education per individual, for instance. So those are the things that we start calculate and make sense out of.
It's crazy.
Even though I'm not economist, I talk about I talk about low man, nakala, poor man economy.
But in the end, that's really what it is.
It's run by the bourgeoisie.
That's what it is.
Right. So, moving on the Foroya newspaper, audit warns Food Safety Agency lacks critical laboratory equipment.
But recently they established a new food security.
FSQA, yes. So
maybe the audit was before then.
The lab.
Yes, before the lab. So perhaps then this is a good move.
Right. So
it's just a question of food. Anyway, you turn, people are selling food. The informal, as it were, economy. How do you keep tabs? How do you deal with all of that?
Since there is demand and supply.
Absolutely, since there's demand and supply. So it will be extremely difficult, really, to enforce whatever rules they have. So you'll just target.
People will come and see food that they look at. Well,
generally, whether it's safe, the preparation, and even where you are selling it, the environment also matters a lot. If you go to Birkama market, for instance, at this time of the season, we're wondering, like, are people really sitting here to sell food?
And more importantly, people are willing to buy it.
Yeah, of course. They don't have
this is exactly what the issue is. The market is still there. Then you are going to have the suppliers.
Gambia lawmakers raise concerns over 18.1 million euro purchase of 100 buses.
That's what we are talking about.
Yes.
You know, all these reports,
Absolutely.
you know, financial institutions.
Always, there's something missing, not quite explained.
Or investments, or the kind of investment, whether it is, you know, it's cost
effective. Absolutely.
Cost benefit.
Yes.
I mean, those are issues that we also need to not just invest in anything, but whether that can give you this investment. Government should not be seen as a free money that you can just put in and that's it. And that's the kind of thinking sometimes I feel.
Fair.
The other day I saw NAWEC looking for some millions. I mean, NAWEC almost every day, even the last budget there was subsidy for NAWEC.
Yeah.
I mean, so those are issues. How do we start thinking about, you know, let's look at our offices and government to run it as a business sometimes, in terms of profit making, not for to extort the people, but also to make money to reinvest in the people as well. I mean,
so this is it. Do you see how we see our state-owned enterprises, for instance?
Yeah.
So we've got the word enterprise in there, but I think we should remove it. State-owned welfare. we do not expect them to make profits. This is what we are told. Nobody's inventing anything. We remember, for instance, in Britain, what was happening when Labour was in power. So the same, it's a Labour Party kind of mindset. I spoke to one National Assembly member the other day. He said, no, these enterprises must work so that we can keep away this private ownership. So we think that the private sector, that's the devil. Not realizing actually the private sector will be far more efficient than any public sector. Public sector cannot do it at all. So remember Lee Kuan Yew, when he visited so many different countries in Africa before 65, they also had their independence. So he was studying them all, be it Nyerere, Kaunda, he looked at it all. So he said, these people never really believe that individuals, private capital build wealth. They thought that the state could do it. The state has failed miserably anywhere you go. Even China had to bring in private capital, kind of private privatization. So we are getting it all wrong. They will always fail. They'll be there for themselves. You know what I mean? Even China still have to kill people for corruption. But we are so soft. So these things will always fail, but the people who run them, they will build their houses, they have their cars, they will have fun, they'll have a good time, but these things will always fail the nation.
Because the way we're thinking around it, I mean, like for me, I always say that a state must know how to raise money and how to redistribute the resources. Those are the two basic things about a state.
Exactly.
I mean, this whole parastatals, basically, for me, I mean, they should be market-oriented. They should be raising money. They should be able to be reliant.
Yes, not rely on government subsidy. Exactly.
So it can still have that connection with the state, but still becomes like run like as a serious private business.
Everywhere else, they had to learn that. For instance, in Britain, when the utilities, they were privatizing them, they invited people to own shares. There are so many ideas that one can do, you know what I mean? So now there's no debate about how the best way to raise money, national growth, there's no debate. Everybody really knows it's really capitalism. But perhaps the problem of capitalism, that's why we blame it, is that it has never been able to come up with a process of distribution. Distribution has always been difficult. What is fair? How does it happen? So you get the top 1%, top whatever, owning so much. That's a problem. But raising money, raising wealth, national wealth, nothing but capitalism. We all know that by now.
Interesting discussions there on the Standard newspaper. Barrow pledges decisive education funding, youth empowerment at NPP students Bantaba. Over the weekend. This was on Saturday at their party's headquarters in Bundu.
I think I saw that. I mean, it's nice to see students engage in politics. I mean, and of course, let's see what the outcome of that is.
Exactly.
I mean, for me, that's all I have to say on that.
That's it. But for me, I'm curious to know, especially Gen Z, Gen Z. I'm always having debates with this category of people. Because what I see is that I know what they are against.
What are we
They
against?
say that they are against, oh, we've seen it through Gala. We are against people looting government assets.
Right.
We are against corruption. We are against all of this. Obviously, is there anybody who wouldn't be against that? But what do you stand for? If I were to put you in a position of power, how would you behave? Otherwise, the argument has not moved on. Otherwise, all you're saying is that, oh, I'm not in that position, therefore I don't like it. Once you go in it, you don't.
Yeah.
Back in the late 80s, early 90s, we had this group, well, they call themselves Terror 18. I'm like, Gala, you are too tame.
In the Gambia?
Can you imagine a group calling itself Terror 18? They were going around, oh, you capitalists, people of Cape Point, Fajara, you capitalists.
In the Gambia, yeah?
But you have no idea.
Wow.
And then
Gambia was an ideological melting pot.
Exactly.
Now, years later, one of them, oh my God, he was one of the leaders, now implicated in so much in one of the area councils, the investigations. I can't wait to see him. I said, so all the time you are terrorizing in us, we want honesty, good governance and all of that, you capitalists, you are stealing.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is it. The only reason you spoke was because you were not part of it.
Yes.
Once you become part of it, you're all the same.
Yeah.
So there's no revolution in your head, yeah? You were just pretending, using these words. You have no idea what they mean.
Yeah.
You're just pretending. It's just nonsense.
So are you implying that Gen
Be
Z
careful,
don't?
Gen Z. What are you
Yeah,
for?
Yeah, because I also see this
Why?
argument about this Keraba people, all of that, trying to put the Gambia into educated versus not educated,
Yes.
elites, not elites,
Yeah.
or privileged, not privileged. And I look at this society, I said this society was a poor society.
Big time.
That everybody that has done something, that they have either built it or invested to a certain
Exactly.
extent, and every generation work for the next generation. So if a family is, built on those issues, others will be better off. And
True.
what kind of investment are families making at this minute? So sometimes it's not about the position of Mr. Mbui today. That's why I have to bring in my lenses and say, okay, he's a capitalist or is a, otherwise. But sometimes we need to look at our society more outside that. But of course, I mean, as a student, we're always on the social lefties and all of those arguments. But of course, when you start working, you start becoming the reality start changing.
Well, Baru said it. When you're campaigning,
the
you can
youth
say
wing-
whatever.
Youth wings of any
Yeah.
stripe. Think about it.
Yeah.
What revolution do you need to effect? What are your political purposes?
Yes. What's the
The people of independence, that independence generation, they had certain political purposes. And I think until the 80s, there was a certain relic. There was a remnant. There was still something that survived.
Yeah.
I'm not sure now how they see their political purpose for the nation, as it were. We've seen that corruption is really at the very heart of our problems. How do we make our institutions work? That's the best chance of getting right education, right health, right policies. And
But I
doing
think
the
young
right
people to
thing.
some extent are doing well in
We
terms
haven't
of
seen
their
that.
political engagement.
It's just talking. It's about, I'm talking about doing.
Yeah, now is
It starts from
but
there.
then
It starts from
but doing
awareness
within,
creation.
Yeah,
It
but doing
starts
within
from-
their own youth
Exact-
groups, youth
yeah,
organizations,
yeah.
youth institutions. Those are other ways also to measure. Because
Exactly, it
for us,
starts
that's the
there.
way we. I mean, it's still not concluded, but I mean that's the learning process. But of course, youth must be engaged, especially within political parties, if they are organized to push the agenda of a political party in terms of the ideology. But of course, we continue to debate on whether ideologies exist or not. But what is the rallying call? There must be a rallying call. Some will see it as an opportunity to go and do masters or get closer to the political patronage or clientelist networks that exist as well.
I think it's a societal issue. It's a societal problem. It doesn't have to. It doesn't matter whether you are a Gen Z, a millennial, or whatsoever. It's a societal problem because we see those that are against before, against the wrongdoings of the government. We are now seeing them part of the government, and they are now exactly.
In
society,
I say there is what we call role play. Like we all play roles. It depends on what situation where you are right now. Like right now, I'm in the civil society, so I'm in academia. I'm playing the role of a civil society academia. Next minute, I'm in the media. I have to play the role of a media. I mean, but the broader question for me is, whatever role you're playing, what is the national interest?
Yes,
should be the question. You know?
I think we're missing that point,
and
the national interest.
What those national interests area means? Is a lot of debate. When you think about one concept, you debate it until forever.
Absolutely. And because we are using abstractions. What's in the national interest? Everybody will tell you that what they're doing is in the national interest. So when you talk about abstractions, where would that take us? I do not know.
What is national interest?
That's it. But what can I measure? What actions would that lead me to? That sort of thing. That is why we cannot settle it. Then we agree. We say, all right, we'll have this thing called democracy. We'll vote. The party that wins, you will implement your program, then we see. Maybe if you made a mistake, 5 years later, we'll bring in somebody else. That's how democracy sorts out these disagreements. We can never all agree on what that means.
Definitely.
So this is it.
Yeah, definitely. Democracy is not easy.
Absolutely. It's all incremental, the gains. You have to compromise. Democracy is a very
step by step, you know.
It's a very conservative idea, isn't it? You have to compromise all the time. Whereas economic development, that's radical. You see?
And people see it, people are able to, it becomes tangible. But like that's why sometimes when we talk about stuff, these things in civil society, government, people don't listen to us.
I know.
Like you're talking about constitution, you're talking about all of these issues. What are you talking about? But if like, if you're telling them, if government, for instance, put a road, people see road, people can touch road, people can use road, people can feel road. Even if you talk about the necessity, everything behind it, what they see is what is more visible.
Absolutely.
So
but this is where we must help in the debate, isn't it?
Of course.
To separate the democracy, why we want democracy. People think that democracy should give you economic development. Not necessarily so. We know from economists that the effect that democracy has on economic development is really neutral. Completely neutral. It just depends on what economic policies you have in place. So we want democracy for other reasons.
And economic development,
for its own. That's
good governance.
I want something that respects the individual. Democracy respects me. That's why we like it.
But you cannot put food on your table.
No, it cannot. But again, it doesn't mean that I do not want my peace.
Exactly.
We all enjoy our peace, my freedom to do as I please within the boundaries of the law, and my aspirations. You have given me space to achieve,
and the kind of job you want to do.
The kind of job I want to do, that sort of thing. That's a civilized living. But the economic development, well, that's a different process. What are you going to do? So people say, oh, you know, people get democracy, that's why this is not happening. I'm like, you're confused.
Continue on and on. But
as it should, as it should.
Said Matty, we really appreciate this. And, you know, hopefully we are looking forward to what you're working on. It's going to be really interesting.
Fantastic.
Exactly.
I can't wait myself, actually, because I want to know. I want to know.
Viewers, we will take a short break. After the break, the program continues. Do stay tuned. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is QTV This Morning program, and I am Julden Jai. I'm with Mr. Momodu Mboj, and from the newspaper review with Sid Matija, we are now heading straight to the sports. The 2026 World Cup updates with Mr. Ade Drame, head of QTV News, and of course Mr. Momodu Gajaga, news reporter and senior reporter and presenter QTV. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here always.
Good morning. Always a pleasure to talk about any sport, especially football.
The World Cup is quite interesting. Senegal out, Cote d'Ivoire, Cape Verde out, but they did so well. I saw online everybody was celebrating how they played out and everything else. And Morocco as well. They did
Morocco
well.
is still in it. Egypt still in it. Lots to talk about. So where do we start?
Let's start with Cape Verde. The team of the moment. Yes, although eliminated, just fell short a little bit against Argentina, the world champions, but extraordinary performance. I haven't seen that for a very, very long time in football. An underdog coming up against a favorite in that kind of fashion, fighting tooth and nail, almost knocked them out. Well, it's one of the most beautiful things about football competition like the World Cup. It's the biggest football showpiece, the competitiveness of the Cape Verde team, their fighting spirit, the mentality. We often criticize African teams, especially when they face European opponents or South Americans. At the dead end of the game, they lose their concentration, they concede, and then game over. That's what happened to Senegal. It happens to Cote d'Ivoire, it happens to DR Congo as well against England. Although for DR Congo, England, you can let it slide a little bit because England's quality was much better, and then eventually when England got the equalizer, it was around the 70 minutes or so, so there was a long way. But the rest, like Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire, it was completely different. But for Cape Verde, it was Argentina who scored first, Lionel Messi, and then, you know, in the second half, Cape Verde were just like, you know what, we can match them, stride for stride. And then they came out in their numbers. Eventually they almost snagged it. I think 5 minutes more in extra time, Cape Verde would have equalized that, and we'll be talking about penalties. Maybe lottery and Argentina could be eliminated.
I saw a discussion with Thierry Henry and Zlatan Ibrahimovic after the game, and Zlatan said, he said, I can't believe that I'm sitting here saying that Cape Verde were a better team than Argentina, and they were just unlucky to lose. And he said, I'm not just saying that for effect. He said, I'm basing that on what we saw. He said, this is a team who have faced 3 world champions. Spain, they didn't lose to Spain. They drew with them. Uruguay, they drew with them. Twice Uruguay have been world champions. Then they met Argentina. Argentina could not defeat them in regulation time, you know. And he said this was just unreal. He said, and the football they played, he said they played without fear, but they played with skill as well. He said, and they were this close to causing probably the biggest upset ever.
And that was what was expected of Senegal.
That was, you know, Senegal, people expected them to go through when you look at the array of stars they have. But I think they're suffering what a lot of other teams are suffering. They haven't been ruthless enough to say, we've got an aging squad, let's drop some of these players. We thank them for what they've done over the years. Brazil have been guilty of it. You could even say the same about Algeria, you know, likes of Riyad Mahrez and so on. A shadow of his former self, you know, and they still took these people. I mean, Brazil, Gaj and I were discussing, you leave somebody like Joao Pedro, who's been on hot form, you take Neymar, who even was injured, couldn't even play the first 2 games due to injury. Why are you taking him? He's well past his best, and then yesterday he was giving his usual tearful self, I tried, but you know, this is it for me. I certainly hope so. I can't think any other national team coach is going to. But Gaj is right. I mean, there was a BBC article which said that no matter what happens, the story of this World Cup has to be Cape Verde. The fact that a team who, when they entered the competition, were the lowest ranked in their group, they ended up second and undefeated. And then they went and pushed the world champions, Lionel Messi. And they said, had Argentina not had Messi, it's likely Cape Verde would have won that game.
Would have won that,
And that is
no doubt
saying,
about that,
that is speaking volumes. So yesterday, they went back home to Cape Verde, and it was coincidentally Independence Day.
Wow.
So of course, everybody...
Double celebration.
All you could see was a sea of blue shirts for the Blue Sharks, you know, Tubarão Azul. Just, it was a fantastic sight, and I was saying to you guys, I was watching it and I was getting emotional. Just, you know, the speeches and people saying, you know, how close they came. It was fantastic, and they've definitely been the story and the romantic story. And I think what makes it beautiful is that when the World Cup was expanded to 48 teams, it was the likes of Cape Verde that people were referencing, saying teams like Cape Verde should not be here. Boy, did they shove that down people's throats with their performances big time. You know,
you have pundits, in fact, who were so disrespectful to Cape Verde that, you know, they're going to lose 9-0 to Spain. They're going to lose 6-0, and they ended up drawing against Spain. Yes, you could say they put up a low block, a defensive, but football is about tactics. Sometimes if you know that the opposition is far better than you, obviously you come up with a strategy to counter their, maybe how good they are. And here we are. The other team that we can talk about again is
Norway, is it?
Morocco.
Oh, yes.
Morocco has done almost consistently what they did 4 years ago in Qatar. Then, of course, they reached the semi-final. This time they're in the quarterfinals. And they're playing France. France eliminated them in the semi-finals in Qatar.
That's right.
They were just one step away from making history, an African team reaching the final for the first time. But of course, they made their own history by reaching the semi-finals. This time around, they're going to come up against France. And they an emphatic performance against Canada, winning 3-0, even when it looks unlikely, because for the first half, they were a little poor. Canada had lots of opportunities, but the second half they were just completely ruthless, and eventually won 3-0.
And I saw online there is this debate that maybe now they should have the
they could be like the real African champions. I follow that.
And there was an amazing statistic which came up they said if you take away the defeat against Senegal, which has an asterisk against it, and you take that out, they have gone 38 games undefeated. You add that one in, it's 39. And that is a remarkable
record. In fact, it's going to be a record.
Statistic that no African team has done that, because you're talking about internationally and in terms of World Cup, AFCON, and so on, qualifying, you name it, all of that included, 39 or 38 games undefeated. And as Gaj says, first half, I don't know whether they underestimated Canada, because in football terms they're fifth-ranked nation in the world, Morocco, and Canada are down in 15th or 16th. Whether they thought, we can take care of these guys, and so the first half performance was very flat when you consider what was at stake. But in the second half, they raised their game and really took it to Canada, and of course ran out 3-0 winners.
Interesting.
And justifiably did so.
So who will they face next?
France.
Okay, they're facing France.
They're facing France.
So it's the big one. It's the big one. And just to say, if I mentioned Riyad Mahrez, they lost Algeria, they lost to Switzerland, and it was a poor performance by them. Really sort of getting knocked out by Switzerland. And we can't forget Egypt. Australia aren't the greatest, but Australia really gave them a game, and took it to penalties, and they won on penalties 4-2.
And there is this joke that Argentina would play against Egypt after almost losing to Cape Verde. So that means like they're playing an Africa Cup of Nations, sort of, while the rest of the teams are playing World Cup, but Argentina is playing AFCON. So that joke, I'm like, okay, this is really hilarious. Absolutely, because from Cape Verde and then they're playing Egypt.
So how many African teams qualified to the round
this
of
level 2?
So for the final, so we started with 10, and then Tunisia were a bit of an embarrassment, to say the least. They were really poor, and definitely for me, in all the games I watched, they were the worst team I saw, which was a bit of a surprise, because they had a not too bad team if you looked at the components, but they just did not gel as a team. So 9 went through, including DRC and so on. So it was quite refreshing that for the first time ever you had 9 African teams in the round of 32. Let's not forget Ghana. They were knocked out by Colombia. The 1-0 scoreline, I think, flatters Ghana. They weren't really in the game. And again, their team, too many aging stars who were there, who really should have been moved on. And I think this is a kind of wake-up call for them, that they need a real shake-up if they want to progress. But having said that, I mean, Cape Verde, you've got players there, 5 players over 30. You have a 35-year-old, 37-year-old, 40-year-old goalkeeper. But look at how they played. You would never guess it. Ryan Mendes, 35. I mean, fantastic tournament he had. So maybe it's not the age necessarily. It's about whether you can. And what I liked about them is that they have a homegrown player as coach, Bubista, a former international for Cape Verde. He's been their coach for 10 years now, whatever, and he really has got them working, and they've gelled brilliantly. Really, really pleased for them.
Interesting. I saw online that there is this the Senegalese coach has been petitioned, around 3,000 petitions.
They want him gone.
Yeah, gone.
Because Pape Gueye has already said he's not playing if he stays as coach. And in fact, he said not just him, he said he wants the whole coaching staff. And just before we came on air, I saw not an article, somebody's done like a 15-minute documentary claiming that Khalilou Fadiga, former player, is behind this rebellion that he's the one telling people
to hear all sorts of conspiracies.
So there are all sorts of conspiracy theories because, you know, people like Khalilou, they always kind of felt an allegiance to Aliou Cissé, the coach who was kicked out. You know, and of course, if they have the AFCON stripped from them, then it means he hasn't won AFCON, which was kind of, you know, what he would have sort of used. Look, I won AFCON. So there's a lot. I think there are going to be a lot of changes. It will be interesting to see whether people like Sadio Mane continue. And I mentioned Neymar, as I said, he's announced his retirement from international football yesterday. Which I think is not a surprise to anybody. But for Africa, we have to look at it broader and think, okay, so what does this mean for us? Yes, people went out at the round of 32 and only 2 teams were left. But if you look at the performances, you look at DRC, you look at Cape Verde particularly, you know, the way they played, I think there's really genuine hope that this can inspire the next lot of people say, you know, if these people, come on, we were talking about Cape Verde in the days of the Amilcar Cabral Trophy when, you know, Gambia and Sierra Leone used to beat them. But look at how they've changed things around, you know. They've harnessed their diaspora and it's been brilliant. I mean, in the current squad, the starting 11 that played against Argentina, I think only 2 players were born in Cape Verde. The others were born outside. In fact, 5 of them born in the Netherlands. So, you know, they've really kind of cast the net really wide, and that's what we need to do, you know, because if you look at it, player for player, Gambia has more players playing in the top leagues in Europe than does Cape Verde. But look how far they went. You know, so, you know, don't think, oh, we're too small to do this. You know, ambition, you have to dream big.
Exactly.
But how do you respond to this? Some people say, with the expansion, what effect expansion has on the hierarchy in African football is that it has broadened it out. Just as we've seen Cape Verde coming in. Quality though, what has happened? Now we've only got 2 that's gone to the quarterfinals. It's the same old story.
It's
Even though you will say they performed well, they did this, but still.
I think sometimes you can take you can take some sort of courage from the fact that look how well they performed. And if you look at Cape Verde, they qualified ahead of Cameroon, beat Cameroon and drew with them, and finished 4 points ahead of Cameroon in the qualifying. Look at DRC, finished ahead of Nigeria when it came to the playoff. You know, so Nigeria are not there, Cameroon are not there, the big guns. You have to be there on merit. You know, so even if they expanded and so on, you go there on merit. And I think some of the performances would have led people to because I think there's a kind of sentimentality about, oh, it's a World Cup, and for some people it's their last World Cup, let's pick them in the squad. I think you have to do away with that. You know, you pick your best team that can take you further in the tournament, not the one that, oh, let's give these guys a last hurrah. You're not going to get very far. You know, you're not going to get very far, and you have to be bloody minded about it and say, you know, but yeah, I mean, the expansion, I think the jury's still out, because when you expand it, it means that you have lots of games that teams know that if we get a 0-0 or a 1-1 or whatever, we're through already. And so, but nonetheless, teams really went for it in all but 2 games, I think. You know, we saw people really going for it. I don't know what Gaj thought about that in terms of the expansion and the effect it's had in terms of quality.
Yeah, for me, it didn't diminish the quality of football that we've seen in the World Cup. You know, all the teams that came in, especially the African teams, they've all performed well, bar the 2 disappointing sides in the manner in which they were eliminated, Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire. For the rest, I think I'll give them a bye to say, yeah, they did well.
Yeah. I mean, Cote d'Ivoire, you've said, I thought they would go further because they played pretty decently in the group stage. And I think the expectation was that they could really push on and surprise people. But again, see the coach getting blasted for some of his selection. You'll always get that if you lose or if you draw a game that you should have won and so on. So for the coaches, it's always a difficult one to call. But I mean, the fact that Belgium are still in it.
Yes,
to me, it's like...
I think Senegal is the bigger criminal.
Yeah.
Actually,
letting a 2-0
85 minutes.
Management. I'm the coach. I mean, what a humiliation.
That is why talking about
the
conspiracy theories about Senegal, things are surfacing that off-the-field scandals could have also contributed to this, because now there are even accusations about the Football Federation officials going there, doing things that are unsporting. They remain accusations because they said they're going to take legal action, that, you know, their reputation is being tarnished, and then, you know, they have to protect their reputation with some of the allegations. Because first week, I think the Senegalese team went in and there are reports that they didn't have good food. Some of the players have to leave their hotel to go outside and get fast food. There are reports like that. So a team like Senegal, with their pedigree, with everything that they did in football, not only in African football, but they're standing even in global football, things like that should not be happening.
Exactly.
Yes. And off the field contributes to on the field performance.
And that part of that story came because some fans actually filmed the players out buying fast food. To them, it was just, oh, here's our favorite player. It wasn't. They weren't trying to get anybody in trouble. But then people are thinking, these guys should not be eating fast food.
So they went to McDonald's.
The kind of thing. You know, and that's how that
talkies and
that's how that scandal that's how that scandal came about. So, you know, it's but we cling to hope the kind of two North African teams can salvage Africa's pride. Egypt, who have really kind of excelled, because first African team to ever appear in a World Cup, but it took until this World Cup for them to win their first ever game.
Wow!
And now they've gone through
the quarterfinals.
So it's amazing.
So what's next? What are the upcoming matches? Finally,
the big one, France, Morocco, the big one.
But before then, England.
Yes.
What again?
What again?
And Norway, Brazil out. Brazil got back home.
So for the England game, lots of adversities against the Three Lions, because one is the Azteca. Mexico Stadium. Lots of history. 1986. He watched it. So I watched the highlights. Where Maradona was brilliant one time, and then again, you know, the hand of God. He scored a goal with his hand. Yeah.
Are
we running out of time?
Yes, we are.
He said the hand of God, but with the head of Maradona. He was a genius.
He said it's a goal scored by divine intervention.
He was a genius.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Adi and Momodu Gajaga, for coming on the sports segment, and thank you very much, Mr. Mboj, for being an amazing co-host. Viewers, this is all we have for you in this
African caucus.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Up next is the African Caucus at the Sadauda Kairaba Jawara International Conference Center. Until we come your way tomorrow for another edition of QTV This Morning, it's a bye from us, and enjoy the rest of our programs.